The evening sun moved slowly across the open ranchland as Mara finished her long day of work. The land was wide and quiet, filled with dry grass, soft hills, and old fences that marked the edge of the property. Mara had lived on this ranch for many years. She knew the sound of the wind, the way the soil smelled before night, and the calm silence that arrived when the day came to an end. She drove her truck along a dusty road that cut through the hills. This road was lonely and rarely used. Wild animals crossed it often, but people almost never did. Mara drove carefully, watching the ground ahead. She planned to go home, make a simple meal, and rest. Then she noticed something move near the road. At first, she thought it was just the wind pushing the grass. She slowed the truck anyway. When the shape stepped forward into the open, her breath caught in her chest. A young horse stood near the road. It was a foal, very small and very thin. Its legs were long and shaky. Its coat looked rough and dull, not smooth like a healthy young animal. Dust covered its lower legs, and its head hung low as if it was too tired to lift it. The foal looked straight at Mara. It did not run. That was the first thing that felt wrong. Wild horses usually ran fast when they saw a human. This one stayed still. Its sides moved quickly as it breathed. Its eyes were large and dark, filled with fear and need at the same time. Mara stopped the truck and stepped out slowly. She kept her movements calm and gentle. She had worked with animals her whole life. She knew fear could spread fast if she rushed. "It is okay," she said softly. The foal took one step back, then stopped. It did not turn away. It did not flee. It simply stood there, watching her. Mara could see the foal's ribs clearly. She could tell it had not eaten enough for a long time. Hunger had made it weak. Tiredness weighed heavy on its small body. She went back to her truck and took out a bottle of water and a piece of fruit. She placed them on the ground and stepped away. She waited. The foal looked at the food but did not rush toward it. It sniffed the air, ears moving back and forth. After a long moment, it stepped closer. It took a careful bite. Then, another. Mara watched quietly. Her heart felt tight. "Where is your mother?" she whispered. The foal stopped eating. It lifted its head slowly. It looked past Mara, down the long road that disappeared between the hills. Then it turned and walked away from the food. It walked down the road. Mara frowned. She did not understand. She watched as the foal moved forward with slow, uneven steps. It walked for a short distance, then stopped and looked back at her. It waited. Mara hesitated. She climbed back into the truck and drove forward slowly. She did not want to scare it. After a few seconds, she looked into the mirror. The foal was following. It stayed several steps behind, walking along the road. Its head stayed low, but it did not stop. When Mara slowed, it slowed. When she stopped, it stopped. Mara stepped out of the truck again. "You should not be walking this far," she said gently. The foal stood still, breathing hard. Then it turned and continued down the road. Mara felt a strange pull inside her chest. Something told her this was not an accident. This foal was not lost in a simple way. She locked the truck and followed on foot. The road stretched far ahead. The land became quieter. The sun lowered, painting the sky in soft orange and pale red. The air grew cooler. Birds settled into silence. The foal walked ahead, sometimes slowing, sometimes stopping. Each time it stopped, it looked back to check if Mara was still there. When Mara paused, the foal waited. They walked a long distance together. Mara's legs began to ache. Dust covered her boots. She could hear her own breathing now. Still, she kept going. "This means something," she said quietly to herself. The foal stumbled once. Mara moved closer, ready to catch it if it fell. The foal caught its balance and kept walking. It looked exhausted, but it did not give up. Mara noticed marks on the ground. Hoof prints that looked older. Signs that another horse had walked this way before, but not recently. Her heart began to beat faster. They reached a small rise in the land. Beyond it, the ground dipped into a narrow valley filled with tall grass. A broken fence lay half buried in the dirt, old and forgotten. The foal stopped. It let out a weak sound, low and soft. Mara stepped past it and looked ahead. Her body froze. A large horse lay on its side in the grass. The mare's body was thin. Her coat was dusty. Her legs were still. Her chest did not rise. Mara slowly walked closer. She already knew the truth before she reached the mare. The foal walked beside her and pressed its head against the mare's neck. It nudged gently. It waited. Nothing happened. Mara knelt down. She placed her hand near the mare's chest. There was no movement. The foal stayed close, touching the mare again, as if asking her to wake up. Mara covered her mouth with her hand. Tears filled her eyes. The foal had not been wandering. The foal had been searching. Searching for help. Searching for someone who could save the only family it had left. It had followed the first human it saw because it had no other choice. Mara sat down beside the mare, her heart breaking. The foal leaned slightly against her leg, weak but trusting. In that quiet valley, with the sun fading and the wind moving the grass, Mara understood something deep. This foal had trusted her with its last hope. And she knew she could not turn away. Mara stayed seated beside the mare for a long time. The sky slowly changed color as evening moved closer to night. The wind passed through the tall grass, making soft sounds that filled the silence. The foal remained close, standing near Mara's side, its small body shaking from tiredness and cold. Mara wiped her eyes and took a deep breath. She knew she could not stay here forever. The foal needed help, food, and safety. If night fully came, the cold would be hard on such a weak young animal. She stood up slowly and looked around the valley. There were no houses nearby. No other people. Just open land and the quiet truth of what had happened here. I am here now, she said softly. The foal lifted its head and looked at her. Its eyes were dull with tiredness, but something in them eased slightly, as if it understood her tone even if it did not know the words. Mara thought carefully. She could not move the mare. But she could help the foal. That was clear. She removed her jacket and gently placed it over the mare's body out of respect. Then she turned back to the foal. She took a slow step toward it. This time, the foal did not step back. It stood still and allowed her to come close. Mara reached out carefully and touched the foal's neck. Its skin felt warm but thin. The foal flinched once, then relaxed. You are safe with me, Mara said quietly. She knew she had to lead the foal back to her ranch. It was far, but it was the only place where help waited. She stood and began walking toward the road. She stopped after a few steps and looked back. The foal followed. It walked close now, not behind her, but beside her. Its steps were slow, but steady. Each step felt like effort, yet it did not stop. They walked in silence. The light faded as they reached the road. Stars began to appear in the darkening sky. Mara guided the foal carefully, watching for signs of weakness. When it slowed, she slowed. When it stopped, she waited. At last, they reached the truck. Mara opened the door and took out a blanket she kept for emergencies. She wrapped it gently around the foal's back. The foal did not resist. It leaned into the warmth. She gave it water, letting it drink slowly. She did not rush it. Too much too fast could harm it. The foal drank, then rested its head near her arm. Mara felt another wave of emotion rise in her chest, but she held steady. She needed to stay strong. She led the foal into the back of the truck where there was space and soft padding. She drove slowly, careful with every turn and bump. The road back felt longer than usual. Mara kept glancing in the mirror, checking the foal. Each time, she saw it lying down, eyes half closed, breathing calm. Relief washed over her. When they finally reached the ranch, Night had fully arrived. Mara parked near the barn and turned on the lights. She moved carefully, opening the back and guiding the foal out. The foal stepped down slowly, legs shaking again, but it stayed upright. Mara led it into a clean stall filled with fresh hay. She let the foal smell the space, get used to the sounds and smells. Then she brought a small amount of food, measured and gentle. The foal ate slowly. Mara watched from nearby, making sure it did not eat too fast. She stayed close but gave it space. After a while, the foal lay down in the hay. Its eyes closed almost at once. Its breathing grew deeper. Mara sat on a wooden stool outside the stall. Only then did the full weight of the day hit her. She thought about the long walk, the trust, the way the foal had looked back again and again to make sure she was still there. She had seen many animals in need, but this felt different. This felt like a promise. The next morning, Mara woke early. The sun had just begun to rise when she reached the barn. She moved quietly, not wanting to startle the foal. The foal was standing now, though it still looked weak. When it saw Mara, its ears moved forward. It took a small step toward her. Mara smiled softly. "That is a good sign," she said. She called a local animal helper and explained the situation. Help would arrive later in the day. Until then, Mara would care for the foal herself. She cleaned the stall, brought fresh water, and checked the foal carefully. There were no visible injuries, just deep hunger and exhaustion. As the day passed, the foal grew a little stronger. It ate small meals. It drank water. It rested. Mara named the foal Ash, because of its soft gray coat and quiet strength. Ash followed Mara when she moved around the barn. Not closely, but enough to keep her in sight. Each time she stopped, Ash stopped too. By afternoon, the animal helper arrived. Together, they checked Ash's condition. They agreed that Ash had a good chance to recover with care and time. Mara felt hope bloom in her chest. That evening, as the sun set again, Mara stood near the stall and watched Ash sleep. The barn was calm, safe. Mara knew the pain of loss would stay with Ash for a long time. But she also knew something important. Ash was no longer alone. And neither, in a quiet way, was she. The days that followed were quiet but full of careful work. Mara kept a steady routine for Ash. She fed the foal small meals many times a day. She checked the water often. She cleaned the stall and kept the space calm and warm. Ash was still weak. Some mornings, the foal stood slowly, legs stiff from rest. Other times, Ash stayed lying down longer than expected. Mara never rushed. She had learned long ago that healing moved at its own pace. Each time Mara entered the barn, Ash lifted its head. Its ears turned toward her. Sometimes it gave a soft sound, low and gentle. It was not fear. It was recognition. Mara smiled each time. She spoke softly while she worked. She talked about the weather, the chores, and the small changes in the land. Ash did not understand the words, but the tone mattered. It carried calm and care. On the third day, Mara led Ash outside the stall for the first time. The ground was soft with morning light. Birds moved across the fence line. The air smelled fresh. Ash hesitated at the door. It stood still, eyes wide, legs unsure. "It is okay," Mara said. She did not pull. She waited. After a long moment, Ash took one careful step forward. Then, another. When its hooves touched the open ground, it froze again. Mara stood beside it, steady and patient. They stayed there until Ash relaxed. Over the next days, Ash grew stronger. The foal began to eat with more energy. Its coat slowly gained a hint of shine. The ribs were still visible, but less sharp than before. Still, something held Ash back. Whenever Mara moved too quickly, Ash stepped away. When a loud sound echoed across the land, Ash startled. At night, Ash sometimes stood suddenly, breathing fast, eyes searching the dark. Mara noticed this. She understood that hunger was not the only wound. Ash carried memory. One afternoon, a storm rolled in from the hills. The sky darkened early. Thunder sounded far away. When the first strong wind hit the barn, Ash reacted at once. The foal backed into the corner of the stall, legs tense, breathing quick. Mara entered calmly and closed the stall door behind her. She did not rush toward Ash. She sat down on the straw, keeping her distance. "It is just a storm," she said quietly. The thunder grew louder. Rain hit the roof in heavy waves. Ash trembled. Its eyes were wide, fixed on nothing and everything at once. Mara stayed still. She hummed a low tune, something slow and steady. She let the sound fill the space. After a while, Ash's breathing slowed slightly. It took one step toward Mara, then stopped. Mara did not move. Another step followed. Ash stood close enough now that Mara could feel its warmth. Slowly, gently, she reached out and rested her hand near Ash's shoulder. Ash did not pull away. The storm passed slowly. When the rain softened and the thunder moved farther away, Ash lowered its head. It leaned lightly against Mara. That moment stayed with her. From then on, Ash allowed more closeness. Mara brushed the foal's coat each morning. She checked its legs and hooves. Ash stood still during these moments, trusting. One evening, Mara opened the gate to the larger field for the first time. The grass there was taller and greener. The space was wide. Ash stepped forward, then stopped. Mara waited. Ash looked around, ears turning. The open land seemed to remind it of something far away. For a moment, Ash did not move at all. Mara felt a quiet worry rise inside her. Then Ash took a step into the field. It walked slowly at first, then stopped again. After another pause, it took a few more steps. The grass brushed against its legs. The wind moved its mane. Ash lifted its head higher than before. Mara watched from the gate. After a long moment, Ash gave a small burst of movement, not a run, but something close. It was uneven and short, but it was movement filled with effort and life. Mara let out a soft breath she had been holding. Each day after that, Ash explored a little more. The foal followed Mara when she walked the fence line. It watched the other animals from a safe distance. It learned the sounds of the ranch. Still, Ash never wandered far. At night, Ash rested better. It slept longer. It no longer stood suddenly at every sound. One afternoon, Mara noticed something new. Ash walked to the edge of the field and looked toward the hills in the distance. The same direction as the quiet valley. Ash stood there for a long time. Mara joined Ash and stood beside it. She followed its gaze. She knew what lay beyond those hills. She felt a quiet sadness rise, gentle but deep. "You remember," she said softly. Ash did not move. Mara stayed with Ash until the sun lowered and the sky warmed with color. When Ash finally turned away and walked back toward the barn, Mara felt a small but important shift. Ash was choosing to stay. That night, Mara wrote in her notebook, something she had not done in years. She wrote about the walk on the road. The valley. The promise she felt without words. She realized that caring for Ash had changed her too. She had lived alone on the ranch for a long time. She had grown used to silence. But now the silence felt different. It was shared. In the quiet barn, Ash slept peacefully. Its breathing was steady. Its body rested fully for the first time since Mara had found it. Mara stood at the stall door and watched. Ash had followed her once out of need. Now, Ash stayed out of trust. And Mara knew that the journey they shared was far from over. A week passed, then another. Ash grew stronger each day. The foal's steps became steadier. The coat looked cleaner and softer. The eyes looked brighter, like a light had returned from somewhere deep inside. Mara kept the same routine because routine gave safety. Every morning she brought fresh water. She checked the hay. She gave small meals. She brushed Ash gently and spoke in a calm voice. Every evening she walked the field line and counted the animals, making sure all was well. Ash often followed her, not too close, but close enough to feel like company. When Mara stopped, Ash stopped. When Mara turned, Ash turned. It was as if Ash had decided that Mara was the safest thing in this wide world. But one morning, something changed. Mara opened the barn door and saw Ash standing at the gate of the small field, staring toward the hills. The foal was not eating. It was not resting. It was waiting, focused, still. Mara walked closer. She noticed Ash's ears were pointed forward and tense. The foal gave a soft sound, then glanced back at Mara, as if asking her to come. Mara felt her stomach tighten. "Do you want to show me something?" she asked. Ash took a few steps toward the hill path. Then it looked back again. Mara hesitated. She had chores to do. She had work waiting. But the look in Ash's eyes was strong and clear. It reminded her of the first day on the road, when the foal had led her to the valley. Mara grabbed a small bag, a bottle of water, and a flashlight. She locked the barn and followed Ash. They walked along the edge of the ranch and toward the hills. The path was narrow and rough. Dry grass grew high on both sides. Small stones rolled under Mara's boots. Ash moved ahead, sure of the way, as if this path lived in memory. Mara kept her pace steady. She watched Ash carefully. The foal still looked young and small, but there was determination in every step. After a while, the land rose. From the top of the hill, Mara could see far across the ranch. The sky was clear and bright. The wind was stronger up here, cool and sharp. Ash stopped and looked down into a lower area filled with trees and bushes. It was not a place Mara visited often. The ground there was uneven, and the plants grew thick. Ash began to move down the slope, slowly but with purpose. Mara followed. As they entered the lower area, the air smelled different. It smelled damp, like water was nearby. The trees blocked some of the sunlight. The shadows were softer, and the ground was cooler. Mara heard a faint sound. A weak sound. It was not loud, but it was there. She stopped walking and listened. The sound came again, like a quiet cry carried by the wind. Mara's heart began to beat faster. Ash moved toward a group of bushes and stopped. It pushed its nose into the leaves, then stepped back and looked at Mara. Mara pushed the bushes aside carefully. What she saw made her freeze. There was a narrow dip in the ground, like a small hidden space. In that space lay another horse. Not a mare, not a foal. A young horse, older than Ash but still not fully grown. Its body was thin. Its coat was dusty. Its head lifted weakly when it saw Mara. Its eyes were tired and afraid. Mara dropped to her knees without thinking. "Oh no," she whispered. The horse tried to stand but could not. Its legs shook. It fell back down, breathing hard. Mara looked around quickly. She could see marks on the ground. Hoof prints. Signs that this horse had been here for days. Maybe longer. Ash stepped closer to the hidden horse and nudged its neck gently. The weak horse responded with a small movement, like it recognized Ash. Mara understood at once. Ash had not been alone out there. Ash had family. Maybe not by blood, but by survival. Mara felt tears rise again, not from shock this time, but from the heavy truth of it. Ash had been saved, but Ash had not forgotten the one left behind. Mara spoke softly. "It is okay. I am here. You are safe now." She checked the young horse carefully. There were no clear injuries. It looked like hunger, thirst, and exhaustion had taken all its strength. Mara moved slowly, not wanting to scare it. She offered water first, letting it drink small amounts. The horse drank, then stopped, breathing hard. Mara sat back and thought. This place was too far for her truck. She could not carry a horse. She needed help fast. She took out her phone, but the signal was weak. She moved a few steps, raised the phone higher, and tried again. This time, one bar appeared. She called the local animal helper who had visited before. Her voice shook as she explained. There is another young horse. It is alive but very weak. I need help to bring it back. The helper promised to come and to bring equipment. Mara ended the call and looked at Ash. Ash stood close to the hidden horse, like a guard. Its body was calm, but its eyes stayed alert. It watched Mara, then the other horse, then Mara again. Mara reached out and touched Ash's neck. You did this, she said softly. You brought me here. Ash did not move away. While they waited, Mara did what she could. She shaded the weak horse with her jacket. She gave a little water again after some time. She spoke gently, keeping the voice steady. The weak horse's eyes followed her. It did not fully relax, but it did not fight her help. When the helper arrived, they worked carefully. They used gentle support and slow steps. They did not rush the weak horse. After a long time, they got it onto a safe transport board and moved it toward the ranch. Ash followed the whole way. It stayed close, like it could not trust the world to do the right thing unless it watched every step. Back at the ranch, the weak horse was placed in a clean stall near Ash. Mara gave it water and small meals just like she had done for Ash. The helper checked its health and agreed it had a chance. Mara exhaled, feeling a deep relief. That night, Mara sat between the two stalls, listening to the quiet sounds of breathing and gentle movement. Ash stood near the stall door, watching her. Mara realized something that filled her chest with emotion. Ash had not only followed her for help. Ash had followed her because Ash believed Mara could be trusted with what mattered most. Family, loyalty, hope. In the dark quiet of the barn, Mara made a promise in her heart. She would not let either of them be alone again. Morning arrived quietly at the ranch. Soft light touched the barn roof and moved across the fields. Birds began their calls, steady and calm. Inside the barn, the air felt warm and safe. Mara woke early and walked straight to the stalls. She moved slowly, not wanting to disturb the peace. Ash stood near the door, already awake. When Ash saw her, the foal stepped closer and gave a soft sound. It was a sound of greeting, gentle and sure. Mara smiled. The second young horse lay resting in the nearby stall. Its breathing was steady. Its eyes opened when Mara approached, then closed again as if sleep felt safe now. The helper had returned late the night before to check once more and had left with quiet hope. Time and care would decide the rest. Mara set to work. She cleaned the stalls. She brought fresh water. She measured food carefully. She checked both young horses with calm hands and patient eyes. Ash watched every movement. As days passed, the weak horse began to improve. It stood longer each morning. It ate small meals without struggle. Its eyes lost some of their fear. Mara named this one Rowan, a simple name that felt right. Rowan responded to the sound, lifting its head when Mara spoke. Ash and Rowan shared the fence line. They stood close, sometimes touching noses through the boards. Ash stayed near Rowan often, as if guarding a promise that had taken a long time to keep. Mara noticed how Ash had changed. The foal now walked with more confidence. The legs no longer shook. The head lifted higher. Ash explored the field with interest, stopping to smell the grass, turning ears toward distant sounds without fear. One afternoon, Mara opened the larger gate again. Ash walked through without hesitation this time. The field stretched wide, green and full of light. Ash moved forward, then faster still. This time, Ash ran. It was not perfect. It was uneven and short, but it was real. The sound of hooves against the ground filled the air. Ash stopped after a short distance and turned back toward Mara. Mara stood still, her heart full. Ash ran back to her. Mara laughed softly, a sound she had not made in a long time. Rowan watched from the fence, ears forward. A few days later, Rowan joined them in the field, slow but steady. Ash stayed close, matching pace, waiting whenever Rowan slowed. Together, they learned the land. As the weeks passed, the ranch felt different. It felt alive in a new way. The quiet was no longer empty. It was shared. Mara found herself talking more, even when no one else was around. She spoke while fixing fences, while cleaning tools, while walking the long paths at sunset. Ash and Rowan listened in their own way, staying nearby, present. One evening, Mara walked the old dirt road again. She stood where she had first seen Ash, thin and tired, standing alone in the dust. She closed her eyes and remembered the walk. The long miles. The valley. The moment that had changed everything. Ash stood beside her now, strong and steady. Mara placed a hand on Ash's neck. "You were brave," she said. "Braver than anyone could know." Ash leaned into her touch. That night, Mara sat on the barn steps and watched the sky fill with stars. The air was cool. The land rested. She thought about trust. Ash had trusted her without knowing her name or her life. Ash had followed because hope was stronger than fear. That choice had saved 2 lives. And it had changed 1 more. Mara had lived many years alone by choice. She had told herself that quiet was enough. That work was enough. That distance kept things simple. Ash and Rowan had shown her something else. Connection did not weaken strength. It gave it meaning. A month later, the helper returned with good news. Rowan would recover fully with continued care. Ash was healthy and growing fast. The paperwork would be simple. Both horses could stay. Mara did not hesitate. They belonged here. On a clear morning, Mara opened the gate wide. Ash stepped through first, confident and curious. Rowan followed, slower but steady. They moved into the open land together. Mara watched them from the fence. She felt a quiet pride, deep and steady. The kind that did not need words. Ash stopped at the edge of the field and looked back. Mara lifted a hand. Ash turned and ran, the strongest run yet, across the open grass. Rowan followed at a gentle pace. The sun rose higher, warming the land. The road that had once been a place of hunger and fear was now just a road. The valley that held loss was now a place of memory, not pain. And the ranch had become something more than land. It had become home. For Ash. For Rowan. And for Mara.